Hi there. How you doing? Man, yesterday's event was pretty crazy, wasn't it? I'm gonna have to be really vague in today's video because I've been getting in some trouble lately, the last 2 weeks or so, just for talking about current events. It's pretty wild, honestly. They say that I'm inciting violence. Isn't that crazy? Like, I literally just talk about space and occasionally will touch on what's being talked about in the news, but apparently I'm inciting people, which is pretty wild. Me and my 300 views per video. I'm really out there just causing trouble in the world, I guess. Man, but no, seriously, videos have been getting removed. I've been getting flags. I've been getting shadow banned. I've seen a hit in how much my videos are getting pushed out in general. um, which is, it's really just a microcosm of what we're seeing on a much larger scale in this country right now. I did want to talk about the event yesterday, though, because like a week prior to it, I had made a video talking about it since it happened right during the solar eclipse and there was a lot of stuff going on. And so I just wanted to touch a little bit on that. One thing I was concerned about was the T square with Mars, where it was squaring Pluto and also squaring Jupiter. And I was really concerned that that was indicative of violence happening, because, Mars square Pluto is not a very good sign. And Mars square Jupiter is action being taken way too far. And with Jupiter in Cancer, it was emotionally driven action being taken way too far. But it seems instead how that played out was just how over the top they made this whole event. I mean, like, y'all, this was supposed to be a funeral. Did this look like a funeral to you? This was propaganda to the max. They are milking this tragedy for everything they can. And, I have said multiple times, I do not condone any kind of situation like what happened to him. I can't even say his name. I'm pretty sure his name is an automatic red flag. But this is not normal how they're treating this. This was not a government official. This was not a military person. This was a podcaster. This was a podcaster who made their living by spreading hate and division and encouraging harassment of people that they didn't like, that they kept on a list where those people were doxxed, so his more extreme followers could harass them all they wanted without him having to personally be involved. That is how he got his start. But what he said was useful propaganda for this current administration. And then you see that they have these pyrotechnics and they have the entire administration there, and they're all giving speeches and they're inciting hate. They're out there saying, I hate my enemies, and just, we're going to go get them, and all this stuff. Talk about inciting violence, am I right? But this is 100% just propaganda, milking a situation for all it's worth. And I'm still not 100% convinced that they didn't have something to do with it happening in the first place. It is just way too convenient, but I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole again. I've gone down it enough. But some exciting things that happened yesterday, stuff that I believe is fully reflected in the Sun, Moon, Mercury stellium, trining Uranus, and trining Pluto. This is some stuff that's a big deal. For one thing, we have these late night TV hosts that have, they've been targeted because they criticize the current administration. They announced yesterday they're going to be pursuing their own independent news outlet where they can report the truth separate from investors that want a certain agenda pushed. They can just push the truth for what it is. That's a huge deal. Talk about a massive change involving communication. that can completely change the way things are working right now. That is massive. And not only that, my friend Charlotte pointed out to me that Africa now has access to its own internet. And that is an even bigger deal. Now, this continent is no longer beholden to other people, and they no longer need to have news about them whitewashed from a biased perspective and put out there a narrative that benefits another country. They can now put out news themselves about what's happening with them. This is huge. This is absolutely a moment that is indicative of the major transits that were going on yesterday. So that is fantastic. And this is what I believe in my previous video I was pointing to, where because I was actually optimistic. I don't know if you've seen my video where I talked about how I thought things were going to go down, but I was saying that I was optimistic about the events of yesterday because ultimately it would lead to good change. Now, what I thought that meant was I thought we were going to see legislation pushed. I thought that we were going to see bipartisan legislation pushed that would address these gun change laws that, led to the tragedy we faced in the first place. And hey, maybe that'll still happen, but I don't think that's what this major transit that happened yesterday was indicating. I think it is these new forms of media and new access to internet on a global basis, because it's not just about America, which is, I'm an American born, so it's hard for me to not think that the entire universe centers around me. I'm just kidding. But it's these transits happen to the whole world. And so it's awesome to see it reflected in something that isn't just American politics, which is what I'm more focused on. And I'm curious to see what Heather Cox Richardson has to say about this. She didn't really talk on this stuff on her post today. And she is the main person I get my news from because she is a well-known historian. She follows very closely. She posts an article every single day on several different platforms. And she covers the current events very well. And so that's where I get most of my knowledge on what's happening, because she's not funded by any super PACs. She's an independent. Her main source of income is being a historian. And she pushes these articles out because she believes in the truth being documented. So if you don't pay attention to Heather Cox Richardson, you absolutely should. She posts an article every single day, and she does videos 3 times a week. Tuesdays and Thursdays she answers questions, and Saturdays she speaks with another historian for about half an hour. And unfortunately, I can't remember the other person's name that she talks to, but it's a series called What the Heck Just Happened. But either way, I am happy with the major changes we saw. I'm very curious to see where things are going to go from here. But this independent news coming out in response to the censorship is a big deal. And not only is that indicative of the Grand Trine that we saw in the transits for yesterday, but that stellium was opposing Saturn conjunct Neptune. So when you think about that, that is new communication being born, opposing the lies to maintain the status quo, which is how I have consistently read Saturn conjunct Neptune in my charts when it comes to current events. And that's beautiful how that's played out. So things aren't as bad as they seem. They want us to freak out. They want us to think that war is coming. They want us to fight each other. But that's not how this is turning out. I think yesterday, the over-the-top events they had is going to harm them. I think that many people that aren't just completely bought into the Kool-Aid have seen that, and they are thinking, this is absurd. This can't continue. And we'll see come the midterms. But I'm pretty confident that good things are coming. Love you guys. Have a great day.